Alright guys, so we can now read our posts on the index page, we can add them. Now I want to work on the details page. So if we click on, if I hover over this link, you'll see down here at the bottom left, it goes to post/show/5. Okay, 5 is the ID of this post. This one's 4, this one's 3. So what we need to do is create a new method in our post controller called show, and we need to make up for that ID that's passed in. So let's go to our post controller. Just going to close this stuff out. So our post controller, and let's go under add, and we'll say public function show, and then show gets passed in an ID. Remember, the way that we set it up is if we go to posts, that's the controller, /show, that's the method, and then anything after that is going to be a parameter. Okay, and parameters go in here, so we can access this with this ID. All right, just get rid of that. Okay, so in the show, what I want to do, let's put the view in. So we'll say this view, it's going to be posts/show, and we're going to pass in the data, and right now I'm just going to set data equal to an empty array. Alright, so we'll save that. Let's go inside the posts folder in the views folder and create a new file called show.php. Alright, and inside here, let's bring in the header and footer. Just grab this. Okay, and we're going to have a back button here just like we did in the add. So I'm going to go to add and just grab this link here, this back button, and put that in. And let's just save that and see if it shows up. If we click on one of these, and it takes us to the show page. Good. Now we need to actually fetch the single post to put inside of the details or inside the show page. So let's go back to our controller. Let's go above the data, and let's create a variable called post. Set it equal to this post model get post. Okay, singular, and we want to pass in the ID. Okay, that's coming in from here. That's coming in from the URL. Actually, let's call this get post by ID. You can call these whatever you want. So get post by ID, and then we're going to go into our post model. If I can find it, model post, and let's go under the add post, and we'll say get post by ID. Okay, and that gets passed in an ID. And all we're going to do here is call our query. You can see how easy this starts to get. It gets very repetitive. So we want to select all from posts where ID is equal to :ID. All right, then we just want to bind the ID. So this db bind, and we want to bind :ID to the variable ID. All right, then we're just going to set a row variable, set it to this db single, since it's a single row, and then we're just going to return the row. All right, and that's going to be put into this post variable, and then that post variable we're going to stick in the data as post, set it to that variable, and now we have access to it inside of our view. So this is the essence of how Model View Controller works. Now we'll go into our our show.php view, and let's go under the back button here, put a little line break, and we'll put an H1, and let's PHP echo data post, and we want the title. Let's save. Let's go back to the index. We'll click on post 3 more, and there we go. We get the title, post 2, and we can get all that data. Now I also want to get the user data. So instead of doing a complicated join, what I'm going to do inside the controller, right below where we got the post, I'm going to get the user with the user model. Now I can't remember if we loaded that. Did we? No, we didn't load the user model, so let's do that. We're just going to say this user model. This has to be in the constructor so that we can use it everywhere. And then down here, we're going to call, first of all, we're going to say user equals this user model, and we're going to have a function called get user by ID. Now, since we got the post, right, we have access to the user underscore ID field in the post table, so that's what we're going to pass in here, post user underscore ID. And that'll give us that user, and then we can pass that into the view as well in case we want to get any of that user's info. All right, so let's go to our users model. Let's see, user model, and let's actually copy the find user by email. And we'll change this to, what did we call it? Get user by ID. So we'll change this to get user by ID, and we'll pass in ID. And then all we have to do is say select all from users where ID equals :ID, and then we just need to bind it. Okay, then we'll say row single, and we don't want to just return true or false if it's there. We want to return the actual row, so we'll get rid of that. And we'll just return row. All right, so that should return the actual user, and then we're passing that into the view here. So now let's go back to the show view and finish that up. So we'll go under the H1. So we're going to put a div here, and I'm going to give this a class of bg-secondary, which is like a kind of a darker gray background. Let's also give it a class of text-white, and let's do p2 or p-2, which is padding 2, and then mb margin bottom -3. And then in here I want to put the written by, and then remember we passed in user, so we should be able to access data user name like that on PHP echo data post created at. Okay, that should work. Let's try it out. Written by John Doe. Good. All right, so now under that, we're going to put a paragraph under this div. We'll put a paragraph, and we'll echo out the post. So data, I'm sorry, echo out the body of the post. Okay, save that. Now on the details page, we're going to have an edit and a delete. So we don't want this edit and delete to show for anyone. It should only be if it's that user's post. So what we're going to do is let's see, we're going to put a if statement here. We're going to say if data post user underscore ID, okay, there's a user underscore ID field in the post table. We're going to say if that is equal to the session user ID, which is the logged in user, then that means that this post belongs to this user. All right, so that means it belongs to the user, and we want to show this stuff, the edit and delete. So let's put an HR right here, and then we're going to put an A tag with the class of BTN, the class of BTN-dark. And then this is going to go to PHP echo URL root slash, and it's going to be posts slash edit slash, and then the ID, which we can get from PHP echo data post data post, and then ID. All right, so that'll be the link, and then inside here we'll say edit. So let's just see if that shows up. If we reload, so we're logged in as John Doe, so that should show up. If I go to one of Brad's posts, you'll see it doesn't show the edit. All right, good. Now for the delete, that's going to be a little different. That's going to be a form, not a button, because we need to make a post request. We do not want to have a delete request to do a delete. So what we're going to have to do is go under the link. We'll put in a form here, and the action is going to be PHP echo URL root, and we're going to go slash posts slash delete slash, and then the ID. Okay, so that'll be the action, and then we're going to put a method of post. All right, and then inside this form, we're going to have just a submit. So let's say input submit, value will be delete. Let's give it a class of BTN and BTN danger, which will make it red. All right, I also want this form to be floated to the right, so I'm going to give it a class of pull-right. So let's see what that looks like. Reload, and now we have our delete. Okay, so in the next video, we're going to work on creating the edit method inside the controller, creating the view, and adding that functionality.